Good afternoon and happy Friday, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Alliance of the Fist, your swagtastic YouTube show that talks about awesome movies and physical media. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Just the weather just went downhill fast around here. You know, if you watch the past couple episodes, I was talking about how summer was hanging on around here in Pittsburgh and wasn't going anywhere. We've had 80-degree weather for the past 2 weeks. And now we're in October. We're 10 days into October, and it's finally starting to cool down. We're down to the 60s. It's a what do they call it? A polar vortex coming through. It's getting chilly out there. Uh, I, I like all seasons though. I think I said that before. I love spring, the summer, the fall, the winter. I love the aspects of each of them, but I can't stand the rain. That's the one thing that just drives you bananas, doesn't it? It just makes you miserable and it's gross. It makes everything nasty. So we've had a little bit of rain the past week, not too much, but it's a nice crisp fall day out there right now. It's a nice 60 degrees, I think. It might be high 50s, low 60s. So it's comfortable. And I just took the air conditioners out of the windows, so got that done, lugged those some bitches down to the basement, and we'll see you in the spring. But other than that, just some life updates for now. So I found a job. We did it, guys. We found a job. We are out of the unemployed club for now. So I found a small job at a record store, potential management position. It's something for now. I can't be picky because I had a wonderful job, but I gave that up, and that's a sacrifice. So you kind of have to start over. So I'm working at a record store for now. I'm loving it so far. I've done 2 shifts. It's been great. Don't plan on staying there too long. I hope to get out. I hope they don't watch this because they'd fire me on the spot if they heard me say that. But it's temporary work. It's not a place where I think I'm going to make a huge career out of it. So it's just temporary, so I can help pay the bills, and that's definitely better than Ubering or Door Dashing, making very little money doing that and putting miles on the car at the same time. Not interested in that. But a nice record store job for now is doing it. It'll bring in some money, and I still have my resume out there, so we can't go anywhere besides up at this point. So I'm optimistic. And it's a record store. It's awesome. It's fun work. The people there are so nice. So they've been so accommodating so far. I can't complain. So we'll take it one day at a time, and we'll find that dream job eventually. But for now, we're making some legit money. And I always try and say to myself, the fun is in the chase when it comes to pursuing your dreams. Don't ever forget that. Sometimes the best moments are in pursuing your dreams. So don't ever give up and enjoy the ride. So those are the life updates for now and the weather updates. But everything's pretty stable. We're making some good money. And we're getting towards Halloween, which I'm always excited for. My favorite month of the year, obviously, is October. And not just because of the spooky horror movie vibe. It's because it's kind of a gateway into the holiday season, which I love. Thanksgiving or Christmas, time off work, food, family, gifts. It's awesome. Spending time with your family. There's just nothing better than that. So we're in the gateway to the holiday season, and I can't complain about that. And I have a job at a record store, and it's going to be very busy because of the holidays coming up. So we'll be able to make some good money. So things are great. Things are wonderful. So it might be a little less time for the show. So bear with me on that if you are a loyal Cosmic Alliance fan. We could be seeing a drop in videos coming out. I'm going to try and do one a week. That sounds manageable. And I also want to expand the show, too. I'm a big fan of pro wrestling, so that we could do even a pro wrestling talk show. I know a lot of people who'd love to join me for a show like that. So maybe we can get some other people on the show. But for now, we're still doing it solo, and today is a solo episode, so we'll get it started. And as always, we'll start off with the collectible. All right. And another shout out to my wonderful mom. So look what she got me. She loves to go to store Ollie's Bargain Outlet. I hate Ollie's Bargain Outlet. I refuse to go in there anymore because it's one of those places where you go in looking for something. It's one of those places, if you need something specific, like I went in there looking for flip-flops one time, and they said, yeah, we don't have those. And then I went in there looking for like a shovel one time, and they said, yeah, we don't have those. If you go into Ollie's Bargain Outlet looking for the thing you need, you're not going to find it because it's all just random junk. You'll find it the next time you go, but you're not going to find it that day when you're looking for it. But so she got me this. This is Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, who, as a matter of fact, is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. And I think she knew that, so she got me this, and it's pretty cool. From the Star Wars Black series. I'm not a Star Wars figure collector at all, so I won't even get into the different series are when it comes to their action figures. But she got it for $5. Always bargain outlet. She's always thinking of me and always feeding my action figure addiction. Love you, Mama. Thank you again. And I'll keep this forever. I'm probably not going to take it out of the case just because it's so cool. It was $5, so I'll just hang on to it and find a nice spot for it. Okay, so we can get started with the show now. Same deal. I got 10 from the collection today. Just random horror films today. No kids movies or superhero movies. Well, one of them is a superhero movie, but it's kind of a horror movie too. But we'll do the standard. We'll talk. I'll put the DVD up or the Blu-ray. Give my quick opinions on the film and what I liked about it or my experience watching it. And we'll take a look at the case and the disc and some artwork and some special features. So let's get to it. First up today is, wow, we're going to have to rearrange this, get that glare out of the way. There we go. That's a little better. So this is the 1985 film Return of the Living Dead. If you're a horror fan, you know what this movie is. One of my favorites, to be honest. This movie has a special place in my heart. I saw it at a very young age. I think I was 11 or 12 when I first watched this, and that was definitely way too young to be watching it, but it was great nonetheless. 80s movie to a T. Definitely definitive 80s horror movie. Good zombie effects. It started that sort of theme with the zombies, where if you watch the zombie movie in the mid-80s, like Day of the Dead, every zombie was unique. It wasn't your standard Night of the Living Dead where the zombies were, this one has a dress shirt on, this one has a nightgown on, and that's basically the extent of the zombie costumes. These mid-80s zombie films took it to another level. You had zombies in clown costumes, zombies in football outfits, zombies in mailman outfits, police zombies. So I loved that aspect of it, that zombies started being more unique, and it wasn't just a crowd of people with gray skin. It was oh, well, that's a plumber zombie, that's an exterminator zombie, that's a dentist zombie. You had them all. And this film is sort of a comedy film too. It's got a lot of funny moments. It is very gory and very explicit. There's a lot of nudity and stuff too. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it's a fun movie regardless. And I've loved it for a very long time. I thought the soundtrack was okay too. For the time, I thought they did a real good job. Sort of, I mean, it was sort of a cheesy soundtrack, but it sort of worked because I think the movie was playing on cheese a little bit. And it's just totally 80s. 80s punk rock music too. So a good film of the times. It represents the 80s horror genre pretty well. As you can see sort of in this cover here, it's sort of a very punk rock horror theme to it, which I've admired for a very long time. So, here is this disc, and I believe I found this at a flea market a long time ago. And this is a really standard sort of DVD. As for special features, commentary, there's a featurette, concept art, and an original theatrical trailer. Not too bad for a standard DVD. Now, what's cool about this DVD, two things. One is, I'll hold it up and show you. You got the dual disc. So the one side, there's no artwork on the disc, unfortunately. But one side is full screen, one side is widescreen. We've talked about those before. But what's cool here, and you can probably see it, it's very faint. Blockbuster. This DVD came from a Blockbuster and wound up in someone's flea market. And maybe I bought it for $5, probably less than that, I can't remember. But it's cool where this stuff winds up over the years. It was in a Blockbuster. So this movie might have been in hundreds of people's homes over the years. And now it's going to stay put in mind. Definitely cool. Okay, next up, we have another zombie movie. Like I said, this is going to be horror heavy just because it's October. So we'll double down on the horror this month. Maggie. Not about the Simpsons character. It's about Arnold and his daughter. They live out in the country. And they are living in sort of the midst of a zombie outbreak. So this movie reminded me a lot of COVID when I watched it. And I didn't see this in theaters. I think this was a direct-to-DVD movie. I don't think it was in theaters. I could be wrong about that. Just check this out on a random Saturday night. I think maybe last Thanksgiving I checked it out because I had nothing to do the next day. Had a couple beers. In a zombie movie. Don't tease me with a good time. But it's a very sort of unique zombie movie. And it reminded me of coronavirus and the whole pandemic from 2020. Just because it's not your typical zombie outbreak film. It kind of strayed away from that a little bit. It kind of jumps you right in the middle of the zombie. It's kind of a mild zombie outbreak in this rural town where Arnold and his daughter live. So you find out right off the bat that Arnold and his daughter are living in this sort of zombie outbreak, and his daughter's already bitten. So the whole film is sort of progressing through her transformation into a zombie. And I don't think, some movies try and touch on that a little bit. This one, it took a really emotional ride with it. What do you do if someone is slowly turning into a zombie over the course of 2 weeks? Kind of tears the family apart in a way. So it's kind of more of a drama than a horror movie. Now, there is sort of zombie action in it. My only complaint about it is, obviously, they didn't have the budget for more Arnold because he's not in it enough. And if you see the cover here, it looks like he's the main central character, and he's going to be whooping ass and killing zombies the whole movie. And that's not really what the movie's about, so don't go into it with that sort of mindset if you are going to watch it. It's more about, what's her name, Abigail Breslin, the young girl and her friends, and how, because it's like society is not collapsed in this movie. So she sort of is meeting up with her friends and still kind of hanging out, but you can see there's an infection going through her body. So it's kind of sad in a way. A very emotional movie. And there wasn't, what? I've said before, I'm not a drama guy. But this was okay. I was definitely hoping for more kick-ass Arnold, killing zombies, etc. But it's a unique take on the zombie film, for sure. The special effects are awesome, I'll say that, because the young girl's not the only one in the film who's sort of been infected, and she gets together with some friends and they're infected too, and you can kind of see it going through their bodies. The blue veins in their eyes are kind of getting messy, and I thought the special effects were great. And I'll say my only complaint was I was looking for a little more action, a little more Arnold, just because it's an Arnold movie. And maybe they didn't have the budget to have him do more, because he's in it, but very scarcely. So watch it, check it out, and let me know your thoughts in the comments if you get a chance. It's a cool movie. And I bought this for $5 at a used DVD store. Take a look at the back. And again, sort of misleading because, you see Arnold sitting there with, looks like he's got a shotgun or something, or some kind of weapon in his hands. There's not much of that. There's a little bit of it, of kick-ass Arnold, but not a whole lot. So it was kind of a letdown in that regard. But if anything, I respect Arnold for trying to, get out of the typecast a little bit and do a dramatic role. So a little bit of respect there. All right, we got our digital code. I don't think I've redeemed that one yet. Maggie, here's your disc. Let me turn it around. Cool movie. And the acting's pretty good too, because like I said, it is sort of a drama. So go into it with that mindset that it's not a beat 'em up zombie film. Let me have some special features on here too. I don't think there's too many. I think it's just the digital copy. Oh, wait, here they are. Director's commentary, Making Maggie, deleted scenes. I haven't seen the deleted scenes. I'm not sure what that entails. Cast and crew interviews and trailer galleries. And it's only PG-13 too. So, like I was saying before, it's not as it's got a little bit of gore, but it's not a super violent zombie movie. It's more of a sort of how are we going to deal with this it's very realistic. So, if you could say realistic when it comes to zombie movies, this one, and like I said, it reminded me of COVID a little bit because it's like this whole new sort of outbreak is happening, and everybody's sort of learning how to deal with it in their own way, different families. So, not too bad. Okay, next up is a spooky one. If we want to talk about a horror film that actually scared me, there's very few of them these days. This one did scare me, believe it or not. The Strangers. The original Strangers. There's a bunch of Strangers now. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's currently 4 Strangers films. The newest 2 I have not seen. I've seen Strangers and then The Strangers Pray at Night. Those 2 films are excellent. Excellent films. Excellent slasher films. I can't get enough of them. I watched this one back when I was in high school. I'll say this right off the bat. Do not watch this late at night. Do not watch this late at night. It is scary. If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? It is the epitome of horror entertainment. It is scary. I remember watching this, and I won't get into spoilers too much, but there's a scene where the young lady's in the living room just kind of walking, and then this dude right here just strolls right in, and she has no idea. Oh my God, I freaked out. I think I had to go downstairs and see my mom and say, hey, look, I'm terrified. Because she told me to watch it. She recommended it to me. She, watch Strangers. You like it. I was upstairs in my room watching, and I come down and says, I need a break. That's terrifying. It was scary. The soundtrack is awesome. Good score. Sort of like a synth score. Sort of like a Michael Myers movie. They've got good soundtrack. Not too gory. There are some brutal scenes, but I'd say it's a little light on the gore. It's more of the fear in this film is sort of a home invasion. I think that's why it scared me so bad, because just a random home invasion. These 2 people are out at their cabin in the woods, and you've seen that done so many times. A secluded cabin in the woods. There's a monster. Blah blah blah. These people are just hanging out, and their home is invaded by these people with masks, and they're serious killers. So nothing more terrifying than that. This isn't ghosts or monsters. This is just people who rolled up to your house and are breaking in to do bad things to you, and that's their goal. So that can hit home with anybody. Doesn't matter what your situation is. That's scary. And it scared me back in the day, but I remember buying, this is the collector's edition Blu-ray from Scream Factory. I've talked about Scream Factory before. I had some of my steelbooks were Scream Factory. They put out special editions of horror films. I believe the company's Shout Factory, but their horror division is Scream Factory. And a lot of my Michael Myers Blu-rays and John Carpenter Blu-rays are from Scream Factory. So, and they have good deals off. So visit their website. I actually saw one on there yesterday that I might pick up. It was like $5 for a collector's edition of a movie. So always check them out. Shoutfactory.com, Scream Factory. This one I didn't buy directly from their site. I found this used at a Blu-ray store, and it is pretty cool. And with the Scream Factory, Shout Factories, you're always going to get cool artwork when it comes to those. It's always a good investment. And they're collector's edition, so there's always some amazing bonus features that come along with them. This movie really scared me back in the day. And as you can see, your bad guys here, just normal people wearing clown masks, and one guy has a potato sack over his head. But just roll up and start raising hell. I think at like 2 a.m. Nothing scarier than that. So special features, disc 1, theatrical version, and then disc 2, you get an unrated version. Interviews, still galleries, some documentaries, Deleted scenes, TV spots. Awesome. Definitely cool. So you get your money's worth. Take the slipcover off. And it's just the same underneath the slipcover. Unbelievably scary. I agree with that. All right. Oh, and that's cool. That's the scene I was talking about that scared the living daylights out of me on this first disc here. Because maybe some other people think, look right here. When I first saw this dude right here just rolls up out of nowhere when she's just standing in the living room. I about crapped my pants. Scary as heck. But these are cool discs. Cool discs, and looks that's just a still from the film, and that's some artwork they made specifically for this release. Awesome. Awesome sauce. If you have not seen The Strangers, good God, check it out. Especially since right now we're in the spooky season. Get it done. Strangers Pray at Night, that's the sequel. Awesome film. I have not seen the 2 newest Strangers films. I will get to them. I have not heard good things, so that's why I'm not in a rush. We'll keep it going. The Crazies. Remake of an old George Romero film. Watched this about 2 years ago. I found it at Half Price Books for $6. If you got a Half Price Books in your area, they have good prices on used Blu-rays. Sometimes you can even find them new there. I like this movie. There's another one. I didn't have anything to do in the evening. Had a couple beers. Popped this one into the Blu-ray player. It's a good sort of high-end B movie is what I'll call it. It's not straight B movie garbage, but at the same time, it's got a little bit of a budget too. I forget who produced it. Was it Universal maybe? Anchor Bay released the Blu-ray. I'm not sure exactly what studio put it out, but I remember it wasn't super low budget, but at the same time it wasn't crazy budget-wise. Like, it still had some B-movie vibes, but you can tell they had a little wiggle room with the budget. So there was good special effects and good acting too. Remake of a classic George Romero film. I'm a huge George Romero fan, but I have not seen the original Crazies, so that would definitely be worth checking out. But I did watch this one, and some of my thoughts were, I thought that the setting was awesome. And there's always this theme when it comes to zombie movies, when somebody gets bit, and I love this. I love when I read about it in books too. When you've got like a good guy character, and he gets bit by a zombie or a vampire, and then whatever disease is going through his body starts to take over. You sort of have to watch the character closely and see, are they slipping? Are they starting to turn into a monster here? Or do they still have some sort of humanity left? I love when you see that in movies. And there was a lot of that in this one. And then it's all, who can you trust? Who's infected? Sort of like The Thing, in a way. John Carpenter's The Thing. But I always...
Exactly about The Thing are you asking? Please provide more context.
You hear that? Google's trying to be part of the show. Goodbye. I have that voice activation on my phone, and sometimes it goes off. But back to the Crazies. Yeah, I love that sort of theme where someone's obviously infected, and how long do they have to help the characters in the film before they slowly turn themselves. I always love seeing that, especially in books too. Vampire movies, zombie movies, werewolf movies too. I love that sort of theme where you don't know how long somebody's going to be on your side, and it's a limited amount of time before they get red in their eyes and they start doing things you don't like. I always appreciate that. But this was a cool movie, like I said. A good setting too. It was in rural sort of Texas town. I think it took place in Texas or Oklahoma. I love rural towns like that. You just get farms for days. And this was like a small town where, you know, a zombie outbreak is the last thing they could see happening. You know, maybe one day the milkman's running late, and that's the biggest thing that happens in this town. But a zombie outbreak And it happens right away, and people start getting infected. Cool film, and I definitely want to check out the original at some point. Maybe I can find a copy of that on Blu-ray. We'll have to look hard because that is an old one. One of George Romero's first films. Maybe his next film after Night of the Living Dead, possibly. There is the back and the cast. Yeah, Timothy Olyphant. I think that's how you say his name. He's a cool actor. My wife and I watched him in the Santa Clarita Diet, which is sort of another zombie show. He was awesome in that. He's in The Mandalorian now, I believe. He's a big character in the new season of The Mandalorian or the new Mandalorian movie, one of those two. And he's an awesome actor. I've always loved him. And I think he's in another movie we're going to talk about here shortly. But good high-level B movie. I guess that's the best way to put it. Here's our disc. The Crazies. And you can see a pitchfork there. A little bit of foreshadowing. I don't think I've ever watched a movie where a pitchfork was actually used for what it was supposed to be used for. Cool film. I'm going to read off special features. Audio commentary with director Breck Eisner. Behind the scenes documentary. Paranormal Pandemics. The George Romero template. The Crazies motion picture comic episodes. Wow, there's a lot of special features on here. Maybe I'll have to pop this in and check some of those out. Get a little more insight on the movie. I apologize. A lot of these movies, I've said this so many times, as I just pop them in on a late Saturday night or Friday night or something, and I just have way too many beers while I'm watching these. But that's the fun way to do it. If you got nothing going on, you're not going to hurt anybody by sitting in your living room having some beer, enjoying some horror films, maybe a cigar or two. If the weather's nice, go outside, have a cigar. You're your own best company sometimes. But moving on. Leatherface. An entry in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So this is, I talked about the last one. When you go with sort of B-movie vibes, this was straight B-movie. There's not one actor in this whole movie that I recognized. Just personally for me, I didn't recognize any of the actors. That's not saying it was bad or the acting was bad. The acting was what it was for a B-horror film. So this is sort of the origin story of Leatherface. Now this is not your typical Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie by any means. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is the majority of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies are group of people are driving through Texas, van breaks down or whatever happens. They wind up at a farmhouse. They get butchered one by one. Sometimes there's a survivor. Sometimes there isn't. There's a big dinner scene. If you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, you know what I'm talking about. This one strayed away from that a lot. So this one sort of had, if you've ever seen the movie The Warriors, it sort of had like a Warriors twist to it. So you have a mental institution that there's a breach in security, and the whole hospital sort of escapes. A lot of mental patients are just out in the wild, and there's a group of them who are trying to, I can't remember, it's been a while since I watched this, but I remember they're trying to get somewhere, or they're all just trying to get back to their homes or something so they can hide from the police. And one of the people in this group of people who escaped from the asylum is Leatherface. And there's a big twist at the end of this film. I won't give it away. You won't see it coming either. So, is this the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie? No, but it is a different Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. And like I said, there's a twist in this where if you haven't seen it, you're not going to see it coming. So, check it out. Enjoy it just for that reason alone. It has its place in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe. I remember it being pretty gory too. The special effect. I'm gonna have to rewatch this because it's been 7 or 8 years since I've actually checked this movie out, and I'm a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, so it might be worth a rewatch here. but I do have the Blu-ray. I have a digital copy too. I don't think I've ever renewed that. My favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, besides the original, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Check that one out. Very underrated. That's the sequel to the remake from the early 2000s. Check that one out if you're a big TCM fan. So, and like I said, very, very B movie. Not a long movie either, but you can tell that it's pretty low budget. I'll show you the back. Keeps the legend alive. And it is a prequel. It's the origin story of Leatherface. So, to avoid any spoilers, I won't say any more. Special features, deleted scenes, behind the bloody mask, making Leatherface. So pretty light on the special features. It is rated R for strong, bloody violence, disturbing images, languages, and some sexuality and nudity. Good family film. Just kidding. Take a look inside. Same on this side. I found this at a Walmart. Couldn't have been more than $15, and that was maybe in 2018, 2017. When did this come out again? Yeah, I'm not seeing a release date. 2017 it came out, and I think I bought it shortly after it came out. My digital copy. I don't think I've redeemed that. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, but I'll give it a rewatch. Leatherface. Cool. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those franchises where it doesn't... And I think they strayed away from their formula with this one, where it wasn't sort of a survival film. It was sort of like a warrior, sort of like... I don't know. You get people trying to get home. It's sort of a road trip kind of movie, but it's a horror film at the same time. All right. Up next, and we'll classify this as horror today, but it's more superhero. Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage and Eva Mendes. Good God. Wow. This came out in 2007. I did not see this in theaters. I think I watched it on cable with my brother. Maybe a year after it came out. Pretty underrated movie, in my opinion. I like Nicolas Cage. I've said before, I dig him. I dig his sort of style, where it's very nonchalant and monotone. He's a very unique actor. I'll say that. I've talked about him before, but this film is underrated, and I think what I liked the most about it was the cast. I thought everybody was casted perfectly in this film. Nick Cage, I think why this worked for me personally is because when you think of Ghost Rider, you think sort of like a biker guy who somehow got these demonic powers, and he could chain flames and fire and flames coming out of his skull and everything. You think that's going to be a big burly biker guy, but then you get Nick Cage. It's like, my head's on fire. It worked. It worked well. And sometimes when you have contrasts like that, where you have kind of, I don't want to call him shrimpy, but sort of monotone guy. I had a job interview recently with a guy who reminded me of Nick Cage. So he's been on my mind lately. But just like sort of like an office schlub, like a guy who's just having a bad day or something like that. But at the same time, he's Ghost Rider. I thought it worked well. And then Eva Mendes... she's a wonderful actress. Very, very pretty lady, too. She's not in much anymore. She did a couple comedy films, but I think this is her best work. Where she was Nick Cage, Johnny, what's his name? Johnny Blaze? Is that his name? Is that his girlfriend in this film? My oh my, is she beautiful. So good to see her in this. But I think my favorite character in this movie was Peter Fonda, who played Satan. I thought he did an awesome job. And at the same time, it was kind of like Nick Cage. It was kind of contrasted a little bit, where you had Peter Fonda was playing the devil, but when you see him on camera and he first appears, he just has a very sort of soft-spoken voice. And you don't expect the devil to have a voice like that. So it kind of works. Like I said, sometimes a contrast like that just works. It's kind of like when you see a new James Bond. Every couple years, there's a new James Bond, and they all have their sort of unique style. So I think the character, Nick Cage and Peter Fonda, they took these roles and added their sort of style to it, which I love when actors do that. So again, underrated film. The sequel was cool too. The Ghost Rider: The Spirit of Vengeance. I haven't seen that in a long time. I saw it in theaters with some friends back when I was in college. I remember nobody was really interested in that movie. There wasn't much marketing for it, but my buddies and I knew it was coming out. And we had student discounts too, so we could go up to the movies and see movies for $5. So the Ghost Rider sequel come out, and we loved it. And I have to find that one on Blu-ray, and we can talk about that one someday. But other than that, I hope and I pray to God. There's a lot of Marvel news right now, and there's sort of speculation on who's going to play the Ghost Rider. You're an idiot if you don't get Nick Cage back. You know he'll do it, and you know he'll knock it out of the park. So if there are any Marvel executives are listening to the Cosmic Alliance of the Fist today, throw any money you can at Nicolas Cage to reprise his role as Ghost Rider. They did it with Wesley Snipes, right, for Blade, at least for a cameo. Come on, guys. Don't get like... See, they're going to cast somebody dumb like Timothée Chalamet as Ghost Rider or something. If he's not already playing somebody in the Marvel Universe, get Nicolas Cage back. He'll do it. And probably for not much money. Please, Marvel. That's all I'm going to say. But I did find this recently at a Goodwill. You can see sort of right there. There's a Goodwill sticker on it. It was $2.99. A high-energy thrill ride. And I know this is a superhero movie, but we're talking about horror today. And it's just, you can classify it as a horror film. There's your back. Special features. 2 making of documentaries. So you don't have 1 making of documentary. You have 2. And then filmmaker commentary. So there's a commentary by the director. Pretty cool. Take the slipcover off. And it's the same. And this is a full screen edition. Now I want to watch this movie. I love Ghost Rider so much. You get like 900 Spider-Man movies and 800 Iron Man movies. Why can't we get another Ghost Rider? What's the holdup? I don't get it. Okay. And here's our disc. Ghost Rider, full screen. Some cool artwork on the disc. Nothing in the case. Moving on. All right, now we're back to George Romero again. Surprise. Okay, Land of the Dead from 2004. I have 2 copies of this. This is my Blu-ray copy. So that means I can talk about it again someday when I show the DVD copy. How nice. This is the unrated director's cut of George Romero's Land of the Dead. I know there's more George Romero films after this one in his zombie universe. I believe it was Survival of the Dead, and then Documentary of the Dead, I think. I'd say it ended. I haven't seen those other 2 George Romero films. I'd say that nothing's gonna. This is kind of where it peaked, and that's not an insult to him. I just think, if he's going to end his zombie franchise, I think it should have been with this one. I thought it was great. It's an underrated horror film from 2004. The cast in this movie was excellent. I'm a big fan of the main character, whose name was Simon Baker. If you're familiar with the television show The Mentalist, I watched every single season of that. He's an amazing actor, Simon Baker. Then you had Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo. I love John Leguizamo. A lot of cool characters in this film. And it's years and years and years after the original zombie outbreak, and there's sort of a colony of humans living in the city, and they have a very strict class system where the wealthy live up in these high-rise apartments, and there's sort of the people who do all the dirty work and bring in the supplies, where they're sort of just bottom feeders and they have to sort of fend for themselves. And then there's sort of, I thought was interesting about the film was that you have a zombie outbreak that is essentially taken over the world, and you have a small cluster of humans who live in this city, and there's sort of a mob mentality thing going on. There's a mafia inside this sort of city of human survivors. So, and I get that you have that. That's a theme in George Romero's zombie films. Are the zombies really the enemies, or the other humans actually the enemies? Why can't we all just work together and try and survive? And I love that theme. That it's not really the zombies that are the bad guys. Obviously, they rip people apart and eat their limbs and stuff, but deep down, humans are the real monsters, and it comes off in this film, and I think that's Romero tries to go for that theme in a lot of his films. Is that, are the zombies really the bad guys? And yes, of course they are, but you kind of get what I'm saying with that. Extremely gory film. So if you're queasy, this is not the one for you. And I thought the soundtrack was awesome too. And I think this one sort of got ignored a little bit because it came out the same time, same sort of year that George Romero's Dawn of the Dead remake came out in 2004. So that one kind of blew this one out of the water. They're both really good films. I actually prefer this to the 2004 Dawn of the Dead. Land of the Dead, awesome film. And good soundtrack, too. There's some really, despite the fact that, and it's like Dawn of the Dead, too, despite the fact that it's a terrifying zombie film with people getting ripped apart, sometimes the score is very emotional when it comes to sort of the subject matter and the characters. So he did a really good job with that, with the score. And rest in peace, George. We'll always love you for giving us these amazing films. And Land of the Dead, I saw this in theaters, believe it or not. I don't know how I got a ticket for it. I think because I went with my friend Mary when we were in 7th grade, and I think maybe her sister bought us tickets for this. And we were big sort of zombie movie fans, so we loved it. Land of the Dead, awesome. All right, there is the back. Blu-ray exclusives, picture-in-picture. What does that entail? Oh, so you can watch interviews with some of the characters during the movie. There's picture-in-picture features. So look here, you can listen to John Leguizamo's take on a scene, or Dennis Hopper. Rest in peace, Dennis Hopper. He's no longer with us either. Feature commentary. Scenes of carnage. When Sean met George. Oh, yeah, because Simon Pegg does a cameo in this film. So there's a little featurette where those two meet. That's pretty cool. Zombie effects. Excellent special effects in this film. And it goes back to what I said about the other zombie film before. Every zombie in this film is unique. They each have a unique character. Like they're actual people. Like there was actually a zombie outbreak the day before, and everybody just left their desk jobs and became wandering zombies, and they all have different outfits and costumes on. And the one main zombie in this movie is an auto mechanic, and he still has his auto mechanic outfit on, which is awesome. Cool movie. And like I said, Simon Baker, awesome main character. Underrated film. Underrated, and this is the unrated director's cut. Oh no, and there's your disc. Land of the Dead, 2004. Awesome sauce. This next one was another fun one I watched with a lovely case of beer. I'm a sucker for a creature feature, and this was a creature feature from about 2 years ago. Beast, starring Idris Elba. So Beast is about a gentleman who takes his 2 young daughters on sort of a safari expedition in Africa, just for fun, I believe. And it doesn't go well, as you can see from the cover. Killer Lion. So it's Jaws with lions and a lot of CGI. I think that was my main gripe with the film. Is that there was just too much CGI with you could have used actual animals. I know that's a whole gray area right now because of animal cruelty and you don't want to mistreat animals, but I mean it's I always say I watch a lot of Three Stooges, and for me one of the great things I notice about those Stooges shorts is something they have actual animals in them, monkeys and lions and stuff. And there was no CGI back then. They used actual animals. Now, I don't know what the treatment of animals was like back in the 40s, in the 30s. So hopefully those animals used in the Three Stooges weren't mistreated. But my point being is, if they were able to do that back then are we not able to use actual lions for at least some scenes today? I'm not saying Idris Elba here has to wrestle an actual lion, but could you at least have some actual lions sort of in frame in some scenes? I feel like I can't remember this movie too well, but I feel like it was all CGI lions. And if that's the MO today, that not have animal cruelty taking place, that you just use CGI, I guess that's fine. But I feel like there's some scenes that could have used an actual lion. Jaws had some scenes that used an actual shark, for crying out loud. And that was in the 70s. So that they could have utilized that a little more. It was still a cool popcorn movie. The Good Cat. Idris Elba is a great actor. I'm not a huge fan of his. I haven't watched a whole lot of his movies. He was in the Marvel stuff, and what was he on? Hot Ones, eating spicy chicken wings. But other than that, Charlton Copley, I believe, from District 9. He's an awesome actor, too. He was in this, played a good part. Basic creature feature. It's pretty predictable. But I'll just say I wish there was more actual lions in it, just for that sort of authentic sort of animal movie feel. But it lacked that. So is it not my favorite movie? No, it's not. But it was still cool. It was put out by Universal, who has a big budget. So I don't know why Universal couldn't have got some actual lions. But enough about the actual lions. Lions and tigers and bears. OCGI. So there's the back. And it was pretty gory too. And it's rated R. So it's not The Lion King or anything. It's not for kids. Be prepared for some animal violence when you go into this one. And it's a good survival movie. Bonus features: creating the beast, man versus lion, the final battle, making it real. They could have done more in that. Filming in the beast territory. That was another cool thing, was the setting. It was an African safari. I think that was legit. I think the setting, I think they actually filmed it in Africa. I'd have to do more research on the film to confirm that, but it sure looked like it. It didn't look like Butler, Pennsylvania. It looked like the Sahara in Africa. So, a lot of special features. There's a digital code with this. I don't think I've redeemed the digital code just because I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like I said, I think it lacked authenticity for me, and it fell flat a little bit. Digital copy. And this is a DVD and Blu-ray pack. So we got both of them. I think I just found this at a Walmart. I could have ordered it off as Amazon, but I believe it was a Walmart find. Beast. Check it out if you like animal horror movies, but you may get a little overwhelmed with the CGI. All right. This next one was really cool. And it kind of threw me a curveball, and I really enjoyed it. A Perfect Getaway. So this is a film that it's about a sort of couple that goes on a hiking trip in Hawaii. They're on a Hawaiian vacation, and they go on a hiking trip. And it's sort of a murder mystery thriller, because they link up with some other hikers, and people start dying, and you sort of know the drill with movies like that. It's kind of survival from that point. What do we do? Who do we trust? And there is a an amazing twist in this film. So, whatever your expectations are, if you have not seen this, set them aside. There's an awesome twist in this film, and I won't spoil it anything further. And maybe you can figure it out before you finish it. But it was so cool because I didn't see that coming at all. And we talked about Timothy Oliphant earlier. He's in this, and he does an awesome job, as well as his wife in this, who is that lady there. I don't want to say her name wrong. The Resident Evil, Mila Jovovich. I don't want to say that wrong, but she's great in this too. Steve Zahn, and then the other young lady. I'm not too familiar with her. I like Steve Zahn. Pretty cool actor. If you've ever seen Joyride, Joyride was awesome. Or National Security with Martin Lawrence. He's good in that too. And I think he was in White Lotus recently. He did a season of White Lotus. Perfect getaway. So what I'll say is the cast is great. The setting is where this film is at. Because I believe it was shot on location in Hawaii. And the mountaintops and the ocean and the beaches, and there's some caves. Definitely a lot of budget went into the setting, and I always appreciate that when it comes to like a horror thriller film. I appreciate that a lot, actually. What the setting, how believable is the setting. And this one had a very believable setting. And like, again, that crazy twist at the end. And this one hit home for me because my wife and I like to do a lot of hiking. We've been to Yellowstone. We've been to the Great Smoky Mountains and Rocky Mountain National Park. We'd love to go hiking in Hawaii someday. That's a bucket list goal for sure. So it kind of hit home in that sense. Like, well, what if my wife and I were hiking and we ran into some other hikers, and then murder started happening and everybody's being real weird? It hit home. So it's a little sense of reality. But the twist at the end is what makes this film so awesome. And the acting is grade A acting. It's sort of a B movie. But I think it's like I said before with the Crazies, it's a high-end B movie. It's got a good budget to it. And you can see that if you check it out. Perfect getaway. Blu-ray exclusives? That includes the shocking original scripted ending. Okay, I did not watch that, so I don't know anything about the original scripted ending. But I do know about the ending, the original theatrical ending, which is awesome. Yeah, there's two versions of the movie, unrated and theatrical. And I don't think this really doesn't have any special features on it. So, oh well. I bought it off Amazon. I think it was $5. So you can get Blu-rays for a steal on Amazon, especially if it's like Prime Day. Sometimes then they're even like $3-4. And if you've got Prime, it's free shipping. Well, this is a cool movie, another late night beer-filled adventure, which I loved. And I'll never forget this one. Oh, I need to rewatch this too. A perfect getaway. Just a regular sort of Blu-ray disc. And Universal, you can always tell when it's a Universal Blu-ray because they have this sort of unique style for all their discs. Pretty cool film. All right, so our final one today, and I'll admit I have not seen this one yet because if you look at this is the book Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and I am almost done with it. And this has been such a good book up to this point. I can't put it down, so I've been trying to pace myself with it. Good vampire book by the master Stephen King. Almost finished, and I was at Walmart yesterday, and they have all their Halloween films out on display, and I found it for $9. The original Salem's Lot from, I believe it's from the 70s. I have not seen this yet, because like I said, I'm very close to finishing that book, and the second I finish that book, I'm going to watch this Blu-ray. I believe it's 3 hours long, so I'll have to either split it up into like 2 nights. One night I watch an hour and a half. Next night I finish it, watch another hour and a half. We'll see how that goes. But I am excited because I am enjoying this Salem's Lot book so much. And that Salem's Lot book was a gift from my wife. I think that was the first birthday gift she might have gotten me back in 2015 when we started dating. I can't recall. I believe it was, though, but it was definitely a gift from her. And I finally got around to reading it after all these years. I think because I've been off work and I've had a little extra time. Sometimes a little reading eats up the time more than you think. So that's why I had to put it down, because I was going through it too fast, but you can never read too much. But I found this awesome Salem's Lot Blu-ray at Walmart yesterday. It was right in front of me. I didn't know I'd be able to find it because I figured it would be, since it's not really a movie, it's a 2-part miniseries that aired on television. That's why it's 3 hours long. So I figured that might be kind of hard to find. I might have to dig around for that. I go to Walmart. It's sitting there for $9. Special edition Blu-ray. This glows in the dark. This yellow sticker on here says it glows in the dark. So this is a unique Blu-ray. And that's what we're looking for on this show. So what a buy. And I'm glad I was able to show it to you guys on the show today. I have not watched it yet. I can't give my thoughts on the movie. But I just wanted to show you this cool Blu-ray I found. Oh my God, that's the bad guy. I'm kind of getting to the part in the book where he's sort of revealing himself. But look how cool. Classic. If you've watched this program before, you know how crazy I am about the classic vampire look. The bald-headed humanoid guy with the long fingers and the big fangs. And he's right there. So I can't wait to watch this movie. I am so excited. I'll probably sit and watch the whole thing at one time, to be honest. The whole 3 hours. I'll need a lot of beer. But maybe we'll stay sober so I don't get alcohol poisoning. Jesus. We'll take it out of the slipcover. And there's, I think, that's probably just a special slipcover they put on it for Halloween. But look at that cool artwork there. So awesome. And there he is again. It's still in the plastic. Sorry about the glare. Oh, I can't wait to pop this open. I'm going to finish this show and finish that book. That way I can start watching this movie. Definitely cool. $9 at Walmart. And that's the cool thing when you go to Walmart around Halloween. They have all these classic monster movies that have these orange, and sometimes they're like neon green too, but they're glow in the dark. Awesome. So if there's ever a power outage and I'm looking for my Salem's Lot Blu-ray, I'll be all right because it's glow in the dark. But we are finished for today, guys. Thank you enough if you stuck with me through the whole thing. Like I said, I'll be a little busier now, so I'm going to try and put out a show as often as I can. We're shooting for once a week. And then we're also going to try and maybe do a pro wrestling show, too, because I'd love to talk. I'm so behind on pro wrestling. When you take some time off work, you really get behind on sort of your routine. And my routine has been, for the past 8 years, working and coming home and watching football, wrestling, whatever's on. I'm so behind on all of that now, so I'm really getting caught up. You just get in a funk when you're not getting up and going to work, so that's why I'm so glad to be back to work. It feels great. I'm working with some great people. Things are looking up, and the weather is beautiful. It's a beautiful Friday, and I'm absolutely excited for the weekend, and I hope you'll enjoy the show today. I hope you'll have a great afternoon and a great weekend. Thanks again for listening. Remember to like and subscribe if you're vibing with this channel. If you're not vibing and you watched this whole video and you made it to the end and you didn't, I don't know how to help you, but if you do like it, please like and subscribe and leave a comment on anything I've talked about today. I love feedback, whatever it may be. So please don't hesitate to give me your thoughts. But other than that, remember to be kind to each other, guys, and take care.